Betrayal isn't just a moral failing, it's actually hardwired into our DNA through millions of years of evolution. Today we are exploring the surprising science behind why humans are biologically programmed to betray even those we love most.
You know what's fascinating about this topic? The way it completely challenges our basic assumptions about human nature. We like to think loyalty is our default setting, but the research suggests something very different.
Well, that's exactly right. And here's what's really interesting. Studies show that even infants as young as 6 months old display strategic social behaviors that could be classified as early forms of betrayal. It's literally built into our operating system.
So how did we develop this capacity for betrayal in the first place?
It all traces back to survival pressures. Research from evolutionary psychologists shows that for 99% of human history, resources were incredibly scarce. Those who could strategically shift alliances, yes, betray their group when necessary, had a 35% higher survival rate.
That's such a counterintuitive finding, that being too loyal could actually hurt your chances of survival. Could you expand on that?
Well, anthropological studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies give us some fascinating insights. They've found that groups that allow for flexible alliances are 42% more likely to survive environmental challenges than those with rigid loyalty structures.
So you're saying our capacity for betrayal is actually an adaptive trait? That's pretty mind-blowing.
And here's where the neuroscience gets really interesting. fMRI studies show our brains have two competing neural networks, the oxytocin-driven bonding circuits and the dopamine-driven reward circuits. When they conflict, the reward circuits win about 68% of the time.
How do those competing systems play out in real-world situations?
Well, research from behavioral economists shows that when the potential reward is just 2.5 times greater than the current benefit of loyalty, most people will choose betrayal, as long as they can rationalize it. Our brains are constantly running these unconscious cost-benefit analyses.
That reminds me of the Stanford prison experiment, how quickly ordinary people can turn on others under the right circumstances.
Exactly. And more recent studies have shown that under even mild stress, our capacity for betrayal increases by roughly 40%. The brain's executive function becomes impaired while survival circuits take over.
Let's talk about how this plays out in modern life. We're not exactly fighting for survival anymore, but these circuits are still active, right?
Oh, they're definitely active. Corporate studies show that about 85% of employees would betray a colleague for a promotion, while claiming they value loyalty. It's that same ancient programming running in a modern context.
That makes me think about all the small betrayals we engage in daily without realizing it. What does the research say about those micro betrayals?
Studies show the average person engages in about 7 to 10 micro-betrayals per day, from sharing secrets to avoiding commitments. What's fascinating is that we only recognize about 30% of these as actual betrayals.
The way you describe it, it seems like these small betrayals are almost necessary for navigating modern social life. Is that accurate?
Well, social network analysis shows that individuals who engage in strategic micro-betrayals actually maintain larger, more diverse social networks. They're seen as more socially adept even though, or perhaps because they're willing to occasionally prioritize one relationship over another.
That's such a challenging idea to sit with. How do people usually justify these betrayals to themselves?
Cognitive scientists have identified something called moral licensing, where people who view themselves as generally good actually become more likely to betray others because they've built up what they see as ethical credit. It's a fascinating psychological mechanism.
So our brains actually help us avoid feeling guilty about betrayal?
Precisely, and neuroimaging studies show that the brain actually reduces activity in regions associated with moral judgment when we can rationalize betrayal. It's like we have built-in cognitive software for justifying these actions.
Let's talk about technology's role in all this. How has the digital age changed the dynamics of betrayal?
Research shows online interactions increase our likelihood of betrayal by roughly 45%. The psychological distance created by screens literally dampens our empathy circuits. We're seeing entirely new categories of betrayal emerge.
That's interesting. So we're essentially betraying different versions of ourselves.
Well, studies of social media behavior show that about 60% of users regularly maintain contradictory personas across different platforms. The digital age has made it easier than ever to compartmentalize our loyalties.
How does this understanding of betrayal help us in practical terms? What can we do with this knowledge?
The research suggests that acknowledging our capacity for betrayal actually leads to stronger relationships. Groups that openly discuss and plan for potential betrayals show 40% higher trust levels than those that assume unconditional loyalty.
You mean like creating explicit agreements and boundaries?
Exactly, and psychological studies show that relationships with clear negotiated boundaries are 65% less likely to experience major betrayals. It's about working with human nature rather than against it.
This has been quite a journey into the darker side of human psychology, hasn't it?
Indeed, but here's the hopeful part. Understanding these mechanisms gives us more control over them. Research shows that people who acknowledge their capacity for betrayal are actually 30% less likely to engage in serious betrayals. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep growing.